A very good afternoon to you. Welcome to the West Ham Voice on Monday afternoon. I don't normally do a show at this time of days, but of course, with so much information popping up about various things, transfer stories and news about players and stuff like that, I thought I'd bring you a show about, well, it's meant to be a preview of the game against Fulham. And I will do a preview, I promise you that. But first, some interesting transfer news that you may or may not have already heard of. Now, if you're new to this channel, please do consider becoming a subscriber of the channel. As it stands today, I'm 4 short of getting 8,000 subscribers. So that is absolutely fantastic. So if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. It costs nothing to subscribe, and all the content is free. And whether you're new or existing subscriber, please hit the like button to show your appreciation of the content. So let's get the transfer nonsense out of the way first, because the first thing we've heard is that, yes, we have gone in and made a bid for Jhon Duran, but the full story hasn't quite been revealed. Now, whilst Claret and Hugh have correctly stated, I think I'm doing this at 4 o'clock, and I think the report came out about 15-20 minutes ago. Now, whilst Claret and Hugh have stated that we've made a bid, that is absolutely correct. But what's been missed out of that report is that the bid was a loan with an option to buy. So that kind of resolves the statement that we've been told that we've got no money to spend, hence the loan part. But the option to buy, Aston Villa must be laughing in our faces, because the last thing they're going to want to do is to loan the player out. They might do if there's an obligation to buy, and an obligation of maybe 50 million, 55 million, maybe even 60 million that's been suggested now. But West Ham United coming in with a loan bid with an option to buy? I don't know, people. Anyway, from what we understand, Champions League teams are outbidding us, which shows that Aston Villa are absolutely willing to move the player on, but only for the right offer. So I guess people are going to say, we tried. And then we've been told that the Marcus Rashford saga actually has some bite. It's got some legs in it. The report that we have a vested interest in him has been confirmed. It's a loan offer, but just like the Duran offer, we are being outbid by teams in the Champions League. How can we be outbid, I hear you ask, if it's only a loan offer? Well, whether we're actually willing to pay the highest part of his salary. And it sounds as if Champions League sides are more willing to pay a higher part of his salary than we are. So there you have it. We're trying with Marcus Rashford, and we've tried with John Duran. I don't know. I'm sure there's going to be more sagas coming up as we go along. Let's get on to the matchday preview. Graham Potter takes charge of his first Premier League game at home against Fulham on Tuesday evening. Now, after the encouraging performance against Aston Villa in the FA Cup last Friday night, we go into this game with some hope that we can at least get our Premier League season back on track. But this isn't going to be as easy, as our injuries are mounting up, and there could be anything up to 8 players missing from the game. Now, of those players, there are 4 definites that are out, and they include Antonio, of course, Todibo, and Jared Bowen, and of course, Nicholas Füllkrug. Graham Potter confirmed in his press conference earlier on Monday that Füllkrug could be out for weeks, and then when he was pushed, he admitted that that might lead into months. Now, added to that, there are 4 other players that up until today could have also been missing from the lineup against Fulham. And these included Alphonse Areola, Dinos Mavropanos, Emerson, and Crescencio Somerville. Now, Potter has confirmed that out of those 4, there were still question marks over Emerson and Somerville. They're quite likely to miss the game against Fulham. Dinos Mavropanos has been training for the past few days, so he's going to be playing. Emerson has been training, but it's 50-50 whether he's going to be available for the game or not. And there's no mention of Areola, so it's clear that he's not injured. Otherwise, he would have been mentioned in some capacity. So it's just going to be interesting to see whether Areola is actually available or will be selected for the game. If you recall, last Friday, he was neither on the bench nor in the starting lineup against Aston Villa. I still think in my mind that he's going to be our number one, but I guess we'll finally see. Now, excuse me, with players missing, by the way, players like Somerville and Emerson look like they will be back for the Crystal Palace game this coming weekend. Now, with players missing, this leaves Potter with a dilemma over who he should be playing and in what positions. And he may find that he may have to shuffle the pack in all areas of the pitch to not only try and field a balanced West Ham team, but to also ensure that we're up to the challenge and the threat that Fulham will provide. Now, I'll come back to West Ham and team selections in a moment. So what about our opponents? Well, Fulham, last week in the FA Cup, they beat Watford 4-1. But their Premier League results have been quite, they've been okay, but not so great. In their last Premier League win was back at the beginning of December when they got a great win, a 3-1 win over Brighton at home. Since then, they've gone on to get 5 draws and 1 defeat. However, 2 of those draws were against Arsenal and Liverpool. Their one recent defeat was at home against West London rivals Chelsea. Marco Silva has built quite a decent squad at Fulham, containing a mix of youth and experience. He has mainly 3 injury concerns to this game. First one is right back Tenny Tete is out with a knee injury, but Timothy Castagna has been standing in and is almost definitely going to get the nod on the right side of defence. On loan, winger Reece Nelson, on loan from Arsenal, is out with a hamstring injury and probably out until mid-February. And striker Rodrigo Muiz picked up a knock in the FA Cup win over Watford. But in fairness, the player that's likely to start up front for Fulham is going to be Raul Jimenez. Silva adopts a 4-2-3-1 formation where the 2 holding midfielders allow the fullbacks to venture forward in order to complement the 3 attacking players who in turn support the lone striker. However, in the last league game against Ipswich, Silva did opt for a back 5 with 2 holding midfielders and 3 up front. Now, of the 2 wing-backs, it's usually on the left side, Anthony Robinson, who is the more attack-minded wing-back. Good crosser of the ball, really dangerous going forward. Up front, Jimenez is likely to be supported by Alex Iwobi and Harry Wilson. A 5 at the back might suggest that Silva is being a little bit cautious, but the wing-back system he sometimes adopts is a far more attack-minded one than a defensive one. So back to West Ham and its lineup. Now, as mentioned in Potter's press conference earlier on Monday, he confirmed that Mavropanos will return to the lineup. Emerson is likely to face a late fitness test. And as I've mentioned, Crescencio Somerville may not be back until the Crystal Palace game this coming weekend. Now, we've got a striker crisis, of course, and Potter suggested that he does have other options available to him, with the likes of Lucas Paquetá and Mohammed Kudus possibly playing in a kind of a false number 9 role if need be. He also mentioned that he's got the option of Danny Ings up front as well. Potter will be keeping an eye on what Fulham will be doing on the left side of their attack. He mentioned that in his press conference as well. So we would have to have a really solid setup to counter that threat down the left-hand side. And he may decide to opt for Aaron Wan-Bissaka to play as a wing-back and bring in Vladimir Coufal on the right side of a back 3. So let's have a look and see what options he has available to him. As you can see, we've got a number of players, as I've already mentioned, out injured. Bowen, Todibo, Fulkrug, Somerville, of course, Antonio as well. Areola, I think, will be selected for this lineup. I could be wrong, but my gut tells me that Areola will be in goal. As I've just mentioned, Vladimir Coufal might be lining up with Mavropanos and Kilman at the back. It's not the strongest and certainly not the tallest in terms of Coufal, but that is what Potter may have to go for. With Emerson being a doubt, you could probably see Ollie Scholes keeping his place on the left side, with Aaron Wan-Bissaka going over to the right side wing back, and then Souček and Alvarez holding the fort in midfield. And then in the middle, if Kudus is played up front, you could see Carlos Soler coming in to play alongside Paquetá, both of them to support Kudus up front. Now, if Emerson is available, that might be the only change that we might see, where Emerson comes in for Ollie Scholes. And I think Ollie Scholes did really, really well. And it's good to see that he's an option and will be an option available from the bench. Do I think there will be any other changes? Would Danny Ings start? It's possible. If Danny Ings starts, then of course Kudus will go into the area that Soler will hold, and Danny Ings will start up front. But I'm not so sure. It didn't look like it worked that well, to be quite honest with you, against Aston Villa in the Cup last Friday. So my gut tells me that it's possible that Kudus will start up front. Any other changes? Well, you could go in with the youngster Guilherme and play Aaron Wan-Bissaka as a right-sided centre-back and put Guilherme in where Aaron Wan-Bissaka is. But I don't think at this moment in time he holds that sort of defensive line that Potter is going to be looking for. So there you have it. It's always going to be. It's never easy to try and give a prediction for a game like this. It's Potter's second game in charge. It's Potter's first game at home. Potter doesn't have the squad that he would probably want to have at this moment in time. So you can't look at past results and predict from that. But with the crowd behind Potter and the team playing under the lights, maybe there's going to be a good atmosphere there. Fingers crossed. It's certainly going to be one more of hope than if it was with Lopetegui in charge. So I'm going to go, as I always do, I'm going to go with a bit of confidence and say that we're going to get a 2-1 victory. Do tell me what you think. Please leave your comments. Like I said, please become a subscriber of the channel if you haven't already done so. And please do hit the like button as well. But just to confirm what I started off with, West Ham United apparently put a bid in, a loan with an option to buy for Jhon Duran, which was turned down. And apparently we're being outbid by Champions League clubs. And we're trying to get Marcus Rashford in. But at this moment in time, we can't agree on the salary. And I guess we'll see what happens there. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining. Please hit the like button. Please leave your comments. And I will see you all later for the West Ham Weekly on Monday.